Uncensored is a podcast where real-life coders share their stories, best practices, and talk about coding and beyond. Coders Uncensored, podcast, real-life coders,
best practices,
coding and beyond. Coding and beyond. This is Coders Uncensored.
Welcome, coders and people. I am Angel Cora. I am the senior coder of the group, along with
Travis T, the newest coder on the block.
And Mandy's behind the scenes right now producing the show. She's actually lifting her hands right now, doing her little salute. And this is Coders Uncensored. The topic for this week is Let's Angular It. It's a tongue twister for sure, because I've had to say it a couple times before saying it live here. And then later on, we'll be talking to Steph. She is someone who I have had the honor of meeting, of working with. And she is an amazing Angular developer, but also a great designer. If you're tuning in now, we're currently live on Twitch, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. Send in your questions, comments throughout the show, or even towards the end of the show. Mandy will go ahead and put it on the screen for us to read out loud. Or if it's something funny, we're just going to say, oh, what's up? Send the hellos back. If you're listening through the podcast, thank you so much. It's always nice to have everyone come in on a weekly basis. So thank you so much for that. But you could hear us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Thank you, Mandy, over here with the whisper of Spotify. Anything else I'm missing, Travis?
Any platform.
Yes. But before we jump into the topic of the week, we did have a little tragedy in my side of my family. We lost our aunt, which was actually, she has been our first listener. She was the first listener, the first follower, with not just Coders Uncensored, but with everything that Dynamic Group and everyone comes together for. So instead of jumping into our week, we wanted to celebrate her life. So with that, Mandy's going to play a little video to remember her by. And that was tough. But I'm not gonna let that deter us with these little tears. But we're gonna celebrate her life this entire week, this whole weekend. She was a great soul to be around, and she'll forever be in our hearts.
Much love.
So aside from that, I want to ask you a few questions, Travis. We really didn't prep for this. This has been a different week for us.
Right.
So yeah, I am recording live from Florida from my father's office. So you see all these, hold on, I got to show these off. I got to show the coffees. So if you ever need a whole lot of coffee, Puerto Rican coffee, this is how much it is. But aside from that, let's jump right into Angular. But before we bring Steph Blondet in and have a conversation about this, what do you know about Angular, Travis? As as someone who's starting in the coding.
All I know is that it's a framework that's TypeScript based, and I know that the people over at Google actually formatted it and created it. And so I know that for sure. I heard it too many times when I was over at Silicon Valley, and I met a few people who worked at Google. I know they really pledged to Angular over there, and I know it's TypeScript based, but I've never actually used it. So I'm not familiar with it like that. That's all I know.
So, when you did talk to people over there, did any of them really say anything about them, for them? Did they like it?
One guy was saying he liked it because the freedom you have, when you're making apps, an application. That's what he said. You want to make a real app, you need to use Angular. I'm just saying, not because I'm with Google, but I'm like, all right, relax. It was a real heated conversation, so I was like, okay. He was serious about it, so I kind of calmed down once I saw him getting his zone. I don't know if he was on the team that made it or something, the way he was talking, but He like really was like on it. I'm like, dang, this is crazy.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. By the way, I do have, I have feel like I have to bring this up. Thank you for sharing that. We have a house full of people right now. There's maybe 10 people from all the family coming around. So if you hear any knocks throughout the live chat, if you hear anybody knocking and asking for the bathroom, it's because they don't know where everything else is inside the house. Someone just knocked right now, so if you hear that, just laugh it out because this is live and we can't do anything about it. um, but yeah, that's awesome, man. At least for Angular, for me, I was able to work on one singular project on Angular. It wasn't. I will tell you right now, I'm a React kind of person. So everything about React is just more accessible for me, just because I work on a lot of WordPress websites, and I use WordPress API to integrate with React JS projects or React Native whenever I want to do a mobile application. So Angular is, I know their number one competition. I've only done it once, so I don't want to say that it's good or bad because I've never given it a good chance,
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I am not the expert in this, and I feel like I can't give the best, you know, uh, stuff to do
Okay.
with it, the best processes and the best practices. So with that, we're gonna bring in Stefanie Blondet, and we're gonna dig deeper into Angular. But before we do, let's hear from our sponsors real quick.
Stay informed on health and laws regarding cannabis, from agriculture and business to entertainment and fun topics. Geek Cannabis is your online source for news and updates about cannabis, CBD, and hemp worldwide. GeekCannabis.com.
All right. So with that being said, we're about to welcome in the award-winning developer turned founder, illustrator. She's a CPO at Every Point One. She is awesome. I worked with her for a little bit. She is my sister in arms. She's a boricua de pura cepa. I don't know what else to say. Stefanie Blondet, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes.
Welcome.
So, quick question. Well, before we start with the coder questions, let's go ahead and ask tell us a little bit about you and what you do so we could all know who you are.
So, like you said on the intro, I am Boricua. I'm from Puerto Rico. I moved to the States 8 years ago. I first moved to Washington, D.C. I was there for 7 years. And most recently, I moved to Tampa, Florida, where I am now. I went to business school, but I started my career as a graphic designer. Then after 3 years of doing that in corporate America, I decided to go back to school to get a certificate in web development. So I went to General Assembly. I did the web development immersive bootcamp.
Nice.
That was like 4 years ago. Then right after or before I finished the certificate, I was hired at Booz Allen Hamilton, which is a management and technology consultant firm. They're based in DC, but they have offices all over. So they have an office here in Tampa. And I am a front-end developer / UI designer / print designer. That's my current role. I do a little bit of everything, which is fun. And I am also the co-founder and chief product officer at Every Point One, which is a startup. We started like a year ago, or less than a year ago, and we're building a software to make science and tech, to help science and tech companies building practices so they can be diverse, inclusive, ethical, and socially responsible.
That's fantastic. Shit. That is amazing. I don't know how to follow up with that, but to let Travis bring it up with the coder questions.
Coder question. Okay.
All right. Mandy, why don't we see the little intro real quick for coder questions?
All right. So I know you work with Angular. So Steph, how did you choose Angular? Like to start working with Angular? How did that decision come about?
So, funny story. I didn't choose Angular; it was chosen for me. So when I went to General Assembly, they taught me Angular JS, which is like the first version of Angular. And then when I started at my current job, the team, they were using Angular. They were using Angular JS, and right when I started, they switched to Angular 2. And since I started in that team, I had to use Angular.
Nice. I don't want to kind of spoil, so I'm not going to go ahead, but I do have a question about the Angular 2 kind of thing. But I guess I can't spoil it because I forgot that is my question. What version of Angular do you like most? Because you mentioned 2. I know you started with 2. But did you have a chance to like play around with all the other versions?
Yeah, I did. I started building apps in Angular JS, but then I did that maybe for 2 months or maybe 3 months, and then we switched to Angular 2. But right now, I think the current version of Angular is Angular 10 or 11. I don't even know what the version is, but my favorite is Angular 7 or 8. And the reason why that's my favorite is because the Angular team, they introduced schematics, which is schematics lets you create your own components, and then you can just use the Angular CLI and scaffold those components. And the good thing about that is, for example, I was part of a data visualization team, and we were building like smaller apps for the analysts, the government analysts, and they were using a lot of maps, charts, like bar charts, line charts, and we saw that we were using the same map or the same base of maps every time. And we had a team that created those schematics for us. So instead of like adding the dependencies all the time, adding the libraries all the time to use those maps, for example, we had like a how do you say that? In the Angular CLI, we had like ng generate schematics maps, and that would like scaffold the maps component, and then we would use those components with all the basic stuff that we needed. So I mean that was great because obviously it improved our time. Like we didn't have to spend like an hour or two every time to set up, for example, the maps, and Angular did that for us in like less than a minute.
Saved a lot of time then, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay. So next question that I have is, what are some of the advantages of Angular over other frameworks?
Okay, so this is very similar to what Angel said a little bit earlier. So I can't say what are the advantages of Angular over the other ones because I haven't used the other ones like React or Vue. But what I can say about Angular is that I like it that it separates everything into reusable components and modules. So like I mentioned earlier with schematics, Angular also has based components that you can use, like a sidebar, dashboard, and a few other things like that you can just use the command line and it creates the components for you. So it saves you a lot of time. And it's also easy to maintain and scale. And obviously it gives you a lot of functionality out of the box. So I can say that that's a few of the reasons why I like Angular.
Okay. Thank you.
So that is a lot of information. I'm still trying to process.
I know, right?
Okay, so for the we just had a conversation a few weeks ago about base SQLs and databases. So I know Angular uses Firebase. It works well a lot. So my next question would be, what's your preferred database? Not Angular. That did not make sense. Let me rephrase that question. Aside from Firebase, what's your preferred database when coding in Angular?
Okay, can you hear me? So I guess, so I'm a front-end developer, and since I am a government contractor, I don't work with databases, but I was able to use Firebase, and I think Firebase was created for front-end developers because it was very, very easy to use. Like, I mean, I remember I read the documentation in a day and I was able to like set it up in less than a day, which is like, I don't know anything about databases. So it was pretty easy to use. But having said that, I am going to start using AWS soon. So I am looking forward to learn and get outside of my comfort zone of the front end side and learn like back end too. And I am looking forward to learn AWS because obviously I know it's one of the famous ones out there.
Good luck with that. I know I tried.
Oh really? Oh my god.
Bro, that shit's not easy.
No?
AWS
Oh my god.
is not easy. So
really?
Much of luck to you.
I'm scared.
You're definitely gonna have to tell me about it.
Okay.
So the next question I have, we already talked about Angular, and like now I know that you don't really know the difference because you only really were using Angular. But what would be some disadvantages? Like, what don't you like about Angular?
Yeah, I guess it's heavy. It's a big framework. So when you're pushing the code to like when you're deploying the code, like it takes a while and yeah, it's heavy. Another thing that I don't like from the front end or from the UI side is that since it has a lot of components and modules, sometimes to custom the styles of the application, to make custom styles in the application, it's hard to really grab the Angular CSS. So sometimes like it's better if you create a CSS theme in the beginning, but I never do that. And then I try to like update the styles on the Angular components, and it's a pain.
Wait, so you have to do a separate CSS theme, then go in Angular, and that sounds like.
I mean, it doesn't have to be like first do the theme and then do the app, but I mean that's how we've done it at work. Like we usually and when I say theme, it's not building like an entire theme from scratch. Like Angular already has that. I think you can find the file some in the Angular site. You just have to change like a few things or change a few colors so it can grab it from the theme and then apply it to the app. So I mean, it's not that bad.
Right, it sounds bad. It sounded bad.
You know that sometimes developers can be lazy, and I ignore that part. And then when I build the app, and then when I try to change the styles or the colors, it's like, oh my god, like I need to build a theme because it's a pain to like go like inspect every element and change it because you have to override the styles.
Okay. Now, what about the documentation for somebody like new like me looking at Angular? Like, how is it? I heard it was real detailed. Is that correct?
I love it. Like I'm always on the documentation, and even like sites like Stack Overflow, they have a lot of people that know and they have really good questions and answers. Like I don't have any complaints when it comes to the documentation. Like for me, I love it. Like it's great.
Cool.
That's awesome. I would definitely have to say you definitely educated us a lot on this topic. We came in with zero knowledge. I came with minimal knowledge, so that is very informative. So thank you for that.
Sure.
So those were the coder questions. Those are our technical side of the show. Now we're going to get a little more personal, but yet a little bit more fun. Because of course, as at Coders Uncensored, we're more than just coders. We're actual humans as well, right? So our next segment is called If and End If. And we're about you. We'll ask you a series of questions, and you have to choose one. And Mandy, could you please run the credits, please? Now, we used to know what they were, but we don't know what they are at this moment.
Oh my God.
Mandy, the producer, loves to surprise all of us at the same time. So, Travis, if you don't mind starting with the first one.
All right. So work from home office versus work from employer's office.
That's easy. Work from home. I'm a 100% introvert, so I prefer to be at home, like by myself in my home office. So, yep.
Cool.
Very true. I do have to ask an additional question real quick before you throw the next question up. Do you hold yourself accountable? Because I feel like a lot of coders don't really hold themselves accountable when they work from home, you know?
I do. I feel like even though I work from home, I try to work like a 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like my coworkers, they are online during that time, and we have meetings around from 9 to 5. So I try to set those as my work hours, and I try not to work during the evenings or weekends. So I guess yes. Yeah.
I love the keyword there is try, because I know
Yeah,
you
I
tried.
know. Yeah, I
Right.
mean, every single day is different, but
Yeah.
I try to work from 9 to 5.
Gotcha.
Nice. Cool. So Manny's gonna throw the next question up. Let's see. Oh,
Ooh,
this is a Puerto Rican thing.
that's
Mofongo
oh
versus
my
pionono.
god, that's hard.
I don't know
Um,
what Travis is gonna say.
you answer it first because I don't know. Like I would say
Mofongo.
both. Yeah, no, I like it's hard with Puerto Rican food. Like I love everything. Like I can't pick one thing because I want to eat everything.
But if you have to choose one, which
Oh
would
my
it be?
god. I guess pionono because I haven't had it in years. I just had mofongo last week, so and like
Nice.
twice. So
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't had pionono in like years. So
I have to agree with Travis though. I can eat unlimited mofongos.
oh,
Like that could be my 24/7 diet, and I'll be a happy man.
I know it's bad.
Delicious.
and now that I'm in Florida, it's like so accessible too. Because when I was in DC, like you couldn't find mofongo anywhere. You had to make it, and I don't like to cook, so yeah, I would go with like I used to eat mofongo when I went to Puerto Rico to visit my family, but now that here I'm in Florida, it's like it's everywhere.
Nice, nice. So for the next one for Travis.
Yeah. So React.js versus Vue.js.
That's not for me, right? Because
Oh, that is definitely for you. And
so okay,
I was gonna say real quick before that, I knew you were an Angular developer, Angular. So I'm like, you know what? Let me throw a little curveball here. So I did suggest that one.
Okay, so I haven't used any of those.
Okay.
But I know a lot of people, like a lot of my coworkers, they use React, and just a few use Vue. So I guess I would say React because more people use it.
Yes.
Right. It's more common for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I dig it. All right, cool. And what's the next question, Mandy? Vieques versus Culebra.
Don't laugh.
Quick thing to say for non-Puerto Rican people, they're two small little islands on the island,
Yeah.
and they're just two separate islands that have their own little towns and activities and beaches and stuff. So that's the quick update to anyone who's not Puerto Rican or who hasn't been there.
So don't laugh. I haven't been to Vieques.
You haven't been.
Which I am ashamed to say. I was supposed to go there last year, but obviously with the pandemic, we had to cancel. So I guess I would say Culebra, but it's because I haven't been to Vieques. What about you? What's your choice there?
Well, I'm gonna double up on yours and say I haven't actually been to any of them.
Oh, what? Oh
I
my
am
God.
failing as a Puerto Rican. I have not been to any of them. It's just I've I lived in Puerto Rico for 2 years.
Oh, only 2 years?
Only 2 years, yeah,
Oh,
because
okay.
we moved when I was a kid, and then I went back when I was like 10 or 12 or something like that. But when we were there, we were residents there, kind of thing, So you don't kind of do the touristy things.
Yep.
So I regret not doing it. But I am counting down the days when I visit my home motherland, just
Yeah.
to visit those two islands.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah. So next question, Mandy.
All right. Designing websites versus coding a website.
Uh-oh. Okay. Coding websites, but designing apps.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Because I guess I don't, I mean, to me, websites, well, it depends because I'm in the government world. So websites to me are boring. Like they're very informative.
Okay.
So design, it's not that fun to design websites, but I guess coding, it's fine because it's coding. But when it comes to apps, I think I prefer to design apps rather than like building them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. I mean, I do have to say, an app has so many things going for it. You know, you could like play around with the buttons, make the whole animations and the active state and so forth. So the website, you're like, people will read this, and it has to be here because all the websites are the same. And if you're different, people will be like, ah, fuck this, and just like completely
Yep.
log off the site.
Yeah.
So completely agree.
Although there's obviously an opportunity to design fun and interactive websites, which is something that we're trying to do now because obviously as a government contractor, or all websites are boring, but we're trying to move away from boring websites. So that's a new challenge that we have.
You know, go ahead.
I was saying with those government websites, so the structure is probably real boring, right? Is it like almost like just clear
sections, yep.
and different sections each time, and that's it, right?
Yep, and that's it. And it's the information that they give us, the images that they give us. So yeah, it's kind of boring, but we're trying to move away from that and add like a few animations to make it fun and to make it interactive.
Gotcha.
So I do actually have a question with that, and I apologize for air doing a little quick hello on air, air on air. Ew. Have you ever had someone from the government, like since you do work with a lot of government contractors, say stuff like, you know what, surprise me, do go crazy. I know this is government, but like impress me.
We had a client like that a few weeks ago. They said that they didn't want a boring website, which is like the informational website, and we added a few animations. Like for example, we had like an image moving from the left to the right, and then we had like the parallax or like scrolling events, and we tried to be subtle because obviously we don't want to add like a lot of animations on a website because I mean the idea is for the user to read the information, not to go crazy with all the animations. So we tried to be subtle, but then even though we were trying to be subtle, they were like, no, this is too much. Like, let's go back to what we have 10 years ago and redo what we had 10 years ago. And we were like government websites sometimes are old, and we're trying to like give them like a refresh and like modernize it. But sometimes they are too scared to move away from what they've been doing for the last 20 years. So yeah, it's intense sometimes to like try to talk to them and like motivate them to like move away from what they know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I find that interesting.
Yeah.
Manny, do we have another question for IFS? Yes. Travis, you can read this one.
All right. Sans serif font or serif font? Wow.
This is tough because I like both. I guess it depends on my mood. But for example, as a print designer, I use both. Meaning for the titles, I may use sans serif, and then for the body text, I may use serif. It depends on what I am doing. But that's mostly for print. I guess for web, I would say sans serif.
Okay.
We spent about 40 minutes the other day, me and Cora, looking at the different fonts, like literally 40 minutes back and forth. He'll select it. I'm like, yes, no. And so I know what you mean. It's like, it seems like it'll be an easy question, but
no,
it's kind of hard depending on what the purpose is. And before we knew it, it was supposed to be like 10 minutes. And before we knew it, it was 40 minutes before we had decided which one to go with, right? Like,
yeah, and also because you have to take a lot into consideration, because you have to know like who's reading it, what the product is if it's a website or a print product, or it's a mobile app. So you have to take a lot of things into consideration when choosing fonts.
Yeah. And I should tell you, Travis, the ones we did decide on, Not it.
So now you have to spend 10 more minutes trying to find another one.
10 minutes with air quotes, which really means another hour. No problem.
That's absolutely true. Do we have another question, Mandy? No, I think that's it for if and end if. That was actually pretty fun.
That was fun, yeah.
Now, we are actually going to go to the next one, which is a lot more fun than the if and end if. So let's have Mandy run the open your credits here for that real quick. So in this segment, we're going to pull, and when I say where, it was really Mandy. So again, it's Mandy has been pulling all these, so these are new to us as well. She's going to be pulling pictures from your social channels, and we're going to ask the simple question: what is the backstory? Okay. And I'll start with the first one. So let's see what we have here. On this first image, we see Steph illustrated herself, half the face. But I have to give her credit because not only that, she also illustrated the code. Like I see VS Code in the background. So to be able to illustrate that as well, I mean, much props to you for that. So what's the backstory and what's the source code behind this picture?
Okay, so there was an illustration challenge going on around that time where people would illustrate their faces or do exactly that, like half illustration and then half the photo. And obviously, since I'm a developer, I chose that picture to illustrate half of it. But obviously, I wanted to illustrate the VS Code because, I mean, that's what a developer means. So I guess that's why I chose that photo, and obviously I wanted to illustrate half of it, and to show my face. But yeah, that was fun. Like I kind of want to do that again because I like when people do illustrations of themselves.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I feel like I do have to I have to ask the question of like the code. Did you like illustrate it or did you use at least the type and kind of typed it out first?
So you know what I did? I grabbed the colors, the VS Code colors from the photo, and then I didn't write the code, but what I did, I did like a few lines with the color of the VS Code, so it looked like I had VS Code there.
Well, you fooled me.
Right.
Yeah, but if you zoom in, like you won't be able to read any code because there's no code there.
It's like one of those cartoons, you know, when it's like gibberish.
Yep.
But it had the real colors.
Yep. I grabbed that. Yep.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Mandy, can you please throw up the other picture for Travis?
All right. So in this picture, we have Steph, and I guess that's like a large ghost next to her.
Oh no, Travis, that's Ghostbusters. That's Marshmallow Man.
Yeah.
Marshmallow Man. Okay.
Yeah.
And like she has on the Ghostbuster outfit.
Yep.
And a nice dog. Is that a Ghostbuster outfit on the dog as well?
That's my French bulldog Peppo, and he also has the Ghostbuster costume.
All right, you got to explain, and Steph has blue hair in this picture as well. So, explain the source code on this one.
Yep. Okay. So, wow, that was I don't even remember. I had blue hair a long time ago. I mean, not that long. I had it for 3 years, and now I have black hair. So that was on a Halloween. I don't remember if it was probably 2018, if I'm not mistaken, or 2019. I don't remember. But yeah, so I like to dress up. Obviously, Halloween is one of my favorite holidays. And I bought that costume so we could all dress up as a family with my dog. And it was fun. He won best costume.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, the dog one or the whole?
Yeah, no, it was him. I mean, obviously, it was fun that we all went as Ghostbusters, but yeah, the challenge was for the dogs. It wasn't for the
that was
people.
so cute. That was so cute.
That was like the real deal Ghostbuster outfit too. That was like authentic.
Yeah,
that was authentic. I noticed that. I was like, wait, that's authentic.
Yeah, no, it took me like a month or so to find it and to
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay, man. Yeah, I guess we're ready for the third one. Okay, so in this picture, we see Steph typing and coding. Maybe she's pensive, maybe she's not, maybe she's looking in the camera, maybe we don't know. It's just her hands. So mysterious. So, can you please explain that source code?
Yes. Okay, so back in 2018, I started to use my Instagram to show myself as a woman in tech, because I started my journey back in 2017, and I realized that not a lot of there were not a lot of women in tech, at least not out there on Instagram. So I decided to use my Instagram to say like, hey, I'm a Latina, I'm a woman, and I'm in tech, like we're here. And I guess one of those, that picture, don't remember exactly what I was saying, but that was part of me sharing like my story, or I was also sharing my experiences as a woman in tech in corporate America. And I was just talking about what a woman in tech is. And I guess I used that photo to explain something about that.
Damn, I love that.
Great.
Can you throw the picture up one more time? Because
That's great.
I think it is nice to see. Yeah. God damn it, Steph. I didn't. It didn't click to me, but yeah, no, that's really, really, really dope.
Yeah. I used to take a lot of photos of my computer or me working, or just show that, hey, I'm in tech.
Yeah. Awesome. So I feel like we have a little extra time here, so I wanted to circle back on a few things.
Mm-hmm.
We went through Angular, and it didn't sound like it. I mean, we saw a lot of your illustrations, right? So I wanted to kind of have the chance now to talk more about that. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you may be transitioning a little bit more towards the design role.
I am. So since I started my career I started my career in graphic design, right? But that was like print. I wasn't doing anything digital. I was doing marketing books, lookbooks. It was all print. But I always knew I wanted to be a web developer, so I gave that a try. Mm-hmm. And I did front-end development full-time for almost 3 years, and I even did it on the side as well. And that's when you and I worked together. Was that like 2 years? I think that was like 2 years ago. So yeah, I did front-end development full-time for 3 years. And then obviously, since I told my company that I'm also a designer, and we have a ton of work on both, they started giving me more opportunities in the design area, but UI design. And when I moved out of DC, when I moved here to Florida, they started giving me more design opportunities. And I can say that now I'm doing like 80% UI design and maybe 20% front-end development. But that changes because as a contractor, it depends on the project. But for the last year or so, I've been doing more UI design than front-end.
Travis, do you have any questions about the UI design?
Yeah, so I want to know, like, do you enjoy that more, like the UI design or the front end development?
That's good question. I think I find it more challenging, like the UI design now, because it's not just throwing colors and picking up fonts. Like there's so much that goes into the UX UI design part. Like even today, like I'm working on an app, right? So I design a few pages of the app, and after I test it, I realized, whoa, like I left a lot of things that I should have included and I didn't. So I think I'm finding it challenging, but in a good way. And I think that's why I'm enjoying it more, because as a developer, at least what I was doing here at my company, I was given like the mock-up and I would just like code whatever the designer gave me. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't as challenging.
You didn't have to think, really. You just did what was ever given to you, coded.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So, and by the way, anybody who's watching right now, we're going way off script. One thing that I've been told about, well, at least with the coding aspect of it, when I did used to work for Broadway, was that was the accessibility part of it. Everything was we had to transition at least our way of thinking when we coded. We would now when I code because of them, I think always, okay, what if someone doesn't can't see a website? What if someone can't really type or use a keyboard the same way other people use? So like how did that affect, or does that affect your designs when you're doing any UI?
Oh, yeah, it does. Because, for example, before, like a long time ago, you would just pick a color palette and that was it. But now you have to test it. You have to see if the colors are accessible to people with, how do you say, like color blindness? And yeah, now you have to test a lot of things before you like show it to the client or code it, for example. Mm-hmm. And for example, color is one of the things that we have to like be sure that it looks good, so they can see it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Do you ever have people questioning you? Because I know when I talk to clients and I tell them accessibility, they're like, nah, only real people kind of thing. And I'm always like, no, a lot of people use websites. Do you ever see people questioning that?
No, you know why? Because I have government clients. They are pretty big on accessibility. So it's like it's even part of our when we sign a contract, like it's there. It's like the website has to be accessible.
Right. So it won't be discrimination or whatever.
Yeah.
It can be classified if it's not, right? So
right,
it has to be accessible, all people, all types, everything,
yep.
right?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Listen, we need to get government clients because they sound fantastic.
Right.
They sound fantastic. Okay, one more question. Do they pay on time?
Well, so
Okay. Well.
Wait, no. Okay, so remember, I work at a private company. So the government pays my company, and then I get paid like every month. So it's like, I don't know if my company gets the check on time, but I do. Because I'm a full-time, like I'm a regular employee.
Right. Okay. I was gonna say, I'm like, come on.
Which is good for you, but they're probably fighting with the government. Like, hey, we just paid Steph. Where our money at?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't even know what goes behind the scenes when it comes to like the money, but I get paid every month, so I'm good.
Right.
Hey, as long as the checks are coming in, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Believe it or not, guys, I think it's time to wrap up. It's time to wrap up our session. It went quick, and it always goes quick every single time. So with the wrap up, I do want to thank everyone who's watching on all our live streaming channels or listening to our podcast. Thank you to our amazing sponsors every time Get Cannabis. And thank you for everyone. Thank you for all the wishes for people have sent. Thank you to Steph, who I know you're going through things in the past, and I don't want to highlight if you don't feel comfortable about it, but I know you've been going through some chronic illnesses, and I hope you're doing well. I didn't want to bother you since the beginning, so when you came back, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask her. So thank you definitely for doing this.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you have any companies, any social channels, anything you want to promote out there? Please do so now.
Yeah, so I am on Instagram at steph.blondet. That's BLONDET. And then the startup that I'm working at is Every.1. You can find us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, everywhere.
Pinterest. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Like it. Travis, do you have any last words?
Once again, thanks, Steph, for coming in and giving us that knowledge about your background, and thanks for everybody watching. What you mentioned earlier about just putting yourself out there as Latina women, that's what we do here at Coders Uncensored. Everyone's welcome, to come into the world of tech, and that's what we're about. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
And with that, I will end this show with I love you to everyone. Please hug your relatives and your loved ones because you never know when it's the last day. And thank you again. What a great show. Mandy, roll the credits. Thank you.